We will now become one with the balloon. We will now get inside the balloon. In this lesson, we're going to talk about moves that involve putting your finger inside of the balloon. Let's start with what we call the apple twist. I brought the clear balloon so that way you can see exactly what's going on. Now, with the balloon in your whole hand, take your twist hand, push your forefinger into the top of the balloon. Now, when you do this, make sure that you push the knot straight into itself like that, because you want it to create as big of a little ball as you can get as it pushes into the balloon. So don't push it with the knot downwards or anything like that. Push it straight in so it makes a bundled up little mess right there, okay? Now when you push it in, go down to, say, the second knuckle. You can go down as far as you want, but if you go down too far, then we go into a different twist. So right now, the apple twist is just a small bubble. In this case, I'm going down to the second knuckle. With the hold hand, I'm going to grab that knot. Now remember, if you push that knot in right, the knot is big enough to hold really easily. And now I use my twist hand to work the balloon off of my forefinger. Let's do that one more time. Take the twist hand, use your forefinger, push the knot in straight, go into the second knuckle like this. Now with your hold hand, grab that knot by pinching in on the balloon, and then use your twist hand fingers to push the balloon off of your twist hand forefinger. Now once you've done that, use your twist hand and turn it a couple times above the knot, so that way when you let go, the knot holds it in place. The knot will not come through, and that is a successful apple twist. So you're probably wondering, why do they call it an apple twist? Well, you can kind of tell it's round like an apple. But a good apple twist, if you got rid of the rest of the balloon, it's twisted tight enough in there to seal it and not let go. So then you have a nice little apple with the stem coming out the top. See? That's why they call it the apple twist. You can also do an apple twist as the only inflated part of the balloon, like this. I will blow a small bubble and leave the rest of the balloon uninflated. Now, I will do the apple twist technique, which is, once again, hold hand, or the twist hand, I should say. Twist hand pushes inside the balloon down to the bottom of the inflated area. And I take my hold hand, grab that knot, grab it nice and tight, twist the balloon above that knot, and I will help it along by pushing in that knot a little bit and kind of tighten up the seal. Just by pushing it in, it kind of helps you so it won't come loose. Now you have one bubble at the end of an uninflated balloon, and it's a nice little tulip that you can give to somebody, or an apple with a very big worm in it. Now what if you wanted to make a really small apple twist? You might try doing it this way. You might go in a little bit and then try to grab that knot and keep just a little piece. Now the problem is when you do that, when you try to make it small like that, the minute you press, the air goes away. There's not enough body, there's not enough resistance to keep a good amount of air in there. So that plan becomes very difficult. And you don't want to do an apple twist too many times in a row with the same balloon. It gets more and more fragile, and the twist will not hold as well every time you redo it. So my suggestion is, for a small apple twist, is to go in deep with a normal apple twist. Say down the whole length of your finger, okay? And once you got the apple twist, you seal it off there. Now you're ready to go. All you got to do, now once the air is trapped in there, it's not going to resist as easy, and then you can take the end of that apple twist, twist just a couple times, not a lot, because you're really putting a lot of tension on the balloon. And once you do that, then you have that nice little apple twist in the end. Then you release the bottom part just by twisting opposite direction, and look at that. Now you have a small apple twist at the very top. And it makes a nice golf hat, or it makes a Donald Duck hat. It just, or I don't know, just whatever you can think of. But it's small and it's easy. You can also use the apple twist to join the ends of two balloons together in an alternative fashion. So let's take two balloons and inflate it. Now, here's the first balloon. I inflated this normal. But the second balloon that's going to connect into the first balloon by way of the apple twist needs a little longer neck on it. So what I'm going to do is this way. Once I inflate the balloon, I hold it, seal it off, and then come down, pinch the balloon a little lower, like that, and that way I get a longer knot. Then when you tie it off, then you have a longer knot on it compared to the normal knot. See? Now, the beauty of the apple twist connecting this balloon is this. You take with your twist hand, you push that knot into the first balloon like that. Now you push the knots right on top of each other so that way it creates that little ball I told you about. And go in there and grab that bubble with your whole hand, see? Twist it a couple times to secure it above the knot. And then straighten it all out. Then you have a nice little joint in between the two balloons, see? Now the beauty of this is because if you just had the knots tied together, it would be sloppy and the joint wouldn't stay as straight. But with this kind of a joint, you have the ability to do some bends. You have the ability to do some bends without it just crimping up like that. You see, it's just a nice alternative way. You could join a lot of different colors using this method. One of the designs I do, a mermaid, in my balloon demo series, uses the method of joining two balloons this way. Another alternative for the apple twist is what we call the astronaut head. The astronaut head is where you take a bubble from one balloon, put a face on it, stick it inside the clear balloon using an apple twist method and creating an astronaut helmet. Let me show you. First of all, you make the astronaut head. Here's his head right here. Now, what the first rule to remember is the astronaut head has to be not as wide as the rest of the balloon. If it's as wide as the rest of the balloon, it's going to stick along the way when you're trying to push it in. And on a hot day when the balloons are tacky, it makes it almost impossible to pull this off. So watch the size of your astronaut head. Now, we're going to put his face on it. Here's a little bit of hair. Here's some eyeballs. Here's the nose. Here's the other eye. Here's the smile. Don't get complicated with the face, because if you get complicated with the face, you're not going to recognize it. Because when you do this technique, if the balloon if the ink is anywhere near wet, it could smear on you. So you might want to blow on the ink a little bit, make sure it's good and dry. But that is not my priority right now. You can use a dry erase marker. They don't smear as easy when you're doing the astronaut's face. Just, play around with it. But I usually have good success if I just wait a few seconds before I go and do this move. Now, we're ready to push the astronaut head into the clear balloon. So I'm going to hold it with a 3-finger hold. Thumb and first 2 fingers right at the base of the astronaut's neck. See? Now, how you hold the balloon is very important, because you have to go in steady and you have to go in firm. And you have to know exactly what you're doing to get the best results. This is a very difficult move to do successfully all the time. Okay? Now, we have the clear balloon blown up. We're going to take the knot of the first balloon, the knot of the second balloon, join them together to create a nice little bump. I'm going to push straight in with my 3 fingers against the astronaut head. I'm going to push in until I can feel that astronaut's head all the way in. Then I pull back 2 of my fingers, leaving behind the 4-finger on my twist hand, and I keep pushing the astronaut head. Now, notice how I'm pushing down against the edge. See, against the edge there. I'm not going straight in. I'm going down against the edge. There's a couple reasons for this. You get more distance when you bend the balloon. You have a lot more distance, but you're not pushing in as far. So there's a real trick to that. Go in with a curve, pulling down on the edge. Now, with your hold hand, you crimp in the outer balloon, grab that big, thick double knot at the top of the astronaut head, clamp it down tight. Now, since you're in a curve on your twist hand, it's really easy just with your middle finger, just push it and just pop your finger right out. You don't have to go very far because of that curve. Now, once that curve is done, all you have to do, or once your finger's out, I should say, all you have to do is push up and straighten it out and make that astronaut helmet straight. See? Just like that. Now, see how compressed that head is? There is a lot of tension there. And when you're grabbing onto that knot, it's really, really pulling. It's almost hard to believe you're going to do this. But you will. It takes practice, but you will. Now, you take that astronaut head, twist it above that knot, so that way the knot keeps the head from slipping back out of the top of the helmet. So this is what you have. See? There's the astronaut head. Inside the bubble is fastened into the other end there. Now, remember that small apple twist I told you about? This is what we're going to do. We're going to make the astronaut's neck. Here's his head. Here's the rest of the astronaut's body. See? We're going to take that apple twist around the astronaut's head and twist the tiniest little apple twist you can get right at the base of the astronaut's head. See? That locks it in. on one end of the apple. There you go. Now see? Now, I wouldn't even attempt to do this on a 90-degree day because, you know, by the time you get to this point, the sun has pretty much disintegrated the balloon, and it could be a lot of trial and error and a lot of impatient kids while you're trying to pull this off. This is a very specialized move, and it's a lot of tension on the balloon. Okay, so there's your astronaut head, and there's this big smile there, as you can see it. There, isn't it nice? His face is a little warped. Now, it could get better, but we'll see. We got the astronaut head, we got the astronaut neck. What do you think is the next part that we do? Are we going to leave the head like that? What do we do with the top of his helmet? It's very easy. All you have to do is untwist the top of his helmet. Once you have it locked there, then you untwist it here. Just very gently, just untwist, and it releases that big fat knot at the top of the astronaut's head, and voila! Now it's locked in with the small apple twist, and there's that astronaut's face. See him smiling in there? Isn't that great? Now all I have to do is simply twist above the head, a normal twist, get rid of the rest of the balloon, tie it off. There we go. Oh, well, I got off and I can't get it tied. There we go. And there we go. Look at that. A nice little astronaut head with a little collar on it, just like that. Great move, huh? Okay, we did the apple twist and we did a bunch of tricks with little bubbles. Now let's go back to the apple twist and let's make it longer. That would be called the hook twist. The hook twist is a longer apple twist because you went deeper inside the balloon. And the reason it's called a hook twist is because when you're down that deep, when the section is that long, it hooks. It tends to curve because of all the inner pressure, which you will see. Let's take our balloon, let's push our finger with our twist hand up in. Remember, push that knot against itself to create a nice little bump at the tip of your finger, okay? Go all the way down. Now, let's say we want to go down real deep. We want to go down as deep as we can. Now, we can't just push in and get there because we're at our knuckle. So you have to pull down on the side like that. And once you pull down on the side, see how you can gather up the balloon? I'll grab the knot, and now we have a lot of length. You think, how do you get your finger out of there? Well, since you're down on the edge like that, all you do is just back it up off the top, and you'll see, you just work it. Then you have a nice amount of balloon there. Okay, you just get that finger right out because you're hooked in, and you just push the wide part right off the top of your finger. Now you twist it above that knot to lock it, and there you have your hook twist, which is a really long apple twist. It's like if someone just took that apple and stretched it. That's the only difference between a hook twist and an apple twist. Now, the reason it's hooked like that is because you have a line, the inside out balloon, it's pulling against itself and it's pulling down on that edge and forcing the balloon curve downwards. Now look inside there and you can see that line. That line can cause you to form the balloon in many different ways. Look at this. That line is always going to go straight. You can get a nice little S curve out of it, like that. Let me see if I get a good one. There we go. There you go, see? But it's that line that's pulling that causes it to form. So that's why it's called the hook twist. Now if you want to add a little curve to it, and like do an S curve, one thing you can do to help the curve is just give it a little twist. Just a little half twist like that. And what that does, that enables the balloon to bend a little more. See what I did here? Just a little twist right at the place you want it to bend. Just to loosen up the balloon. And look at the nice sharp curve you get there. And that's why it's called a hook twist. Makes a great horse's tail. In fact, why don't we just go ahead and get a horse here. Here's a standard balloon horse with a bunch of bubble for the tail. Let's release that bubble. And I got the end there. Let's take that hook twist. Let the air out of that. Now I'm going to grab that hook twist knot, because that knot right there, that big thick knot, is what keeps it from undoing. I'm going to wrap it around the horse like that. Maybe go between his legs for added security. Whatever you think works. You tie it with the remainder of the horse balloon. Just whatever you see fit. There's no exact method. As long as you make it a nice secure twist and get and think about where that knot is, because that knot is what keeps it from undoing. Now look at that. I've got the horse tail right there, and all I have to do is take my fingers and push it upwards, pull that inner line up to make it do an S. And look at that. There's a nice little horse tail that you could do of a different color. In fact, that would be a horse of a different color.